Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt. We've got Dave Arslanian today, and I'm John Johnson. But Coach, right? I mean,
I take pride in that name.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a little bit about you to start with, and then I want to talk about the Jets, this team you put together. But so you,
I grew up in football. With my father was 13 years old running the streets of Salt Lake. His mother died when he was 11. His father died when he was 13, and so he's running the streets, bounced around from relatives. And a junior high football coach pulled him aside and says, "Sark, you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to end up dead or in jail." Because he was an angry young man. I mean, losing his parents, fighting all the time. Junior high coach pulls him in, introduces him to football, and that saved his life. He started playing football, fell in love with it, graduated from high school because of it, went off to World War II, came back from World War II, married his high school sweetheart, my mother. And then he realized that the GI Bill would pay for him to play football again. So he went down to Dixie College to play football.
Wow.
Graduates from Dixie College, and then a few years later, he's back at Dixie College as their head football coach.
This is your dad?
And that's my dad. And I was born in St. George when he was playing football at Dixie College.
Wow.
And I just grew up with football, and it's our life, our family's story. He was a junior college football coach at Dixie College. Then he came to Weber State and built the Weber State football program primarily with junior college football players. And that was our motivation for launching the Ogden Jets. Is junior college football was going away, and we just felt we needed to save it.
Wow.
And my family's legacy, my dad's legacy, is junior college football.
Wow.
So
how did you get into all of that? Well, of course, having a dad like that,
well,
right? But let's talk about your story.
As I became a football coach, I would get asked. And
so you were a player, though.
I played at Weber State for my father, played football and ran track, was a two-sport letterman, and then graduated from Weber State. While some of my buddies were getting drafted into the NFL, I got drafted into the Navy. So I joined the Navy, came back from the Navy, and then started my coaching career at Arizona State with Frank Kush, and then just became the head coach. I helped launch football as an assistant coach at Scottsdale Community College. Then I became the head coach at Snow College, then Weber State, then Utah State.
Wow.
I'm blessed from the fact that I've been the head coach at 3 of the top universities, top colleges in this state: Snow College, Weber State.
As far as the athletic football program.
So from that standpoint, I feel blessed.
So this is kind of a setup, really, to founding the Utah Jets, right?
The Ogden Jets, yeah.
The Ogden Jets, yeah.
We, about 5 or 6 years ago, there was one junior college in Utah playing football, and that's Snow College. And there were 7 junior colleges in Arizona playing junior college football, and so Snow College belonged to that league, 8 teams. And then 5 or 6 years ago, the 7 junior colleges in Arizona just dropped football. They just dropped football. In Utah, we had quite a number of junior college football programs when Weber State was a junior college, Southern Utah was a junior college, Dixie College was a junior college. We had a nice league, but they all grew up and became 4-year schools.
Right.
But in Arizona, they didn't grow up and become 4-year schools. They just dropped football. And so myself and the coach that hired me at Scottsdale Community College in 1973, he and I had been doing a 40-year reunion for Scottsdale, bringing their players back to introduce them bring them back into the fold at Scottsdale Community College. So he and I just decided, you know what, we need to do something about this. We need to save junior college football. So that was the genesis behind launching the St. George Eagles in St. George, the Ogden Jets in Ogden, and we've launched one down in Arizona now, the Goodyear Wranglers. So we've got a nice little 3 teams, and we're working hard to just find ways to make them sustainable. What started out as a community service project is we now are ready to hand this off to a private ownership group or a private owner that would take it and add to it and make it bigger and better and stronger than ever.
And this is about the old model of college athletics, right?
It absolutely is. It is about educating young men, young people, to become stronger members of the workforce. And people do not realize the role that junior college football has played in the lives of many, many, many young men. Just in this community alone, our mayor, Ben Nadolski, our superintendent of schools, Luke Rasmussen, our president of Weber State University, Brad Mortensen, all three of those men played junior college football. Did you know that?
No, I did not. Where did they play at?
Well, Brad played at Ricks College. Luke Rasmussen played at Snow College. And then Ben Nadolski played at Phoenix College. Ben Nadolski is now in Ogden, and this is his hometown, and he's going to be one of our great mayors.
Really believe that.
Came from Phoenix Junior College. I recruited him personally from Phoenix Junior College to come to Weber State to play at Weber State. And people don't realize the role that junior college football has played. It's unique because it's a young man that finishes high school and all he wants to do is play football one more time. Just play football one more time. Probably not even thinking about going to college. Goes to college to play football like my father did. Goes to college to play football and ends up becoming better educated through the process of just playing college football. I mean, you talk about a diverse population, you talk about learning how to be a leader, you talk about work ethic and discipline. College football gives that to you, and especially junior college football, because you're not being paid to play, you're paying to play. And so it's amazing what...
Yeah, because you're not talking about these massive athletic budgets. What do you think about this? We had a bill yesterday in committee about this NIL, restructuring the universities to be able to compete in this name, image, and likeness thing that's going on right now, where especially the larger universities, I mean, they're basically turning into pro leagues, right?
Pro leagues, yep. So that's right. But picture this now. NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. But where does paying a kid $1 million fit into that name, image, and likeness? So the idea was that they were supposed to be able to capitalize on having their picture on a poster.
Right.
Or they're being interviewed on TV. So the name, image, and likeness was... But now it's way beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're making commitments to these kids, offering them NIL money to get them
to play.
To play. Yeah. I'm not opposed to it, but there needs to be, and you mentioned it when we were talking earlier,
some guardrails around it and saying where does it
yeah.
But it really I think the whole idea of a student athlete though is modified in that process, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhat, but let's also remember, and I've been a big advocate of this, that football especially, football is a microcosm of society. You talk about diversity. A football team has the most diverse population that you're going to find on your campus.
Yeah.
Now, universities promote the idea that they're promoting diversity, but they get these clubs that get formed, and what happens with those clubs? They all segregate themselves. But a football team can't do that.
Right.
A football team's got brown, black, and white. It's got big and small. It's got smart and not so smart. It's got rich and poor. It's got the kid that's the Boy Scout that just wants to put his arm around you and be your buddy, and you got the other guy that just wants to beat you up. And they all come together, and they have to work together to be a team. And that's why guys like Ben Nadolski and Luke Rasmussen and Brad Mortensen, coming out of junior college football, have learned to be leaders and have learned to be contributors and have learned to make, bring people together and be. And so that's the great part of junior college football and college football as a whole, because it's just a microcosm of what is happening in our world and in our society.
So Dave, one of the things that you guys are doing with the Ogden Jets, you've got this educational model and that's part of the beauty of what you're doing, right?
Yes, that's right.
You're trying to get these kids prepared for their shot, because it's not just about football. It's about building these kids, right?
We end up talking about football all the time, but that's just a small piece of it. That is the carrot that gets these kids into the education program. They're willing to try this education because they get to play football. The education that we've created, USA Collegiate has created a very unique model. We've got a prep school portion of it, which is Coral Sands Academy, which is an accredited high school for those kids that need credit repair or they need another core class.
Before they could get into it.
Before they can get into a university. Then we've got USA Collegiate Online, which is an online junior college licensed by the state of Utah as a degree-granting two-year college. Now we can use that as some of our pre-math or since it's not nationally accredited yet, we use it for that, lay a foundation. Right. And then we've got
and these are courses that could keep these kids from even being recruited at a college because they wouldn't qualify, right?
That's right. So we've got USA Collegiate Online under our umbrella. Then we've got a partnership with Southern Utah University Online. They've got a great online program. They've been doing online education longer than I think anybody else in the state. So they've got a great online program. So that's for our degree. That's for a player that's going to go on to a 4-year school. And then we've got a partnership with Ogden Weber Technical College. So a player that is not academically inclined but wants to learn a trade football. And wants to play football, then we say you got to choose one of these 3 tracks. Either you're going to go on to a 4-year school, or you're going to get an associate degree with a career, or you're going to go to the trade school and get yourself a career there. So that's the genius behind USA Collegiate's academic program that we provide for these young men.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
And John, we also have a partnership with Weber State where a player can enroll at Weber State and attend school at Weber State and still play on the Ogden Jets. So we create these partnerships with academic programs that are going to be of advantage to the young men and help them any way we can. Do you follow football?
Oh yeah. Do
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't in a way, right? I mean, that's part of America.
It is. It's a big part of it. It's sports is so intertwined with what happens in our communities and so important to our kids. And I fall back on the junior college football thing. We launched our company called USA Collegiate, which is a educational support and team management company. And then we've got our nonprofit foundation called the Coaches Team Foundation, that is the nonprofit that helps raise money to support the team. And the team sits here, and the USA Collegiate provides the support for them. The Coaches Team Foundation helps provide the resources for them. And now we've taken this team, the Ogden Jets, and we're hoping we're now that we've stood it up for 2 years, now we're working to find a way to make it sustainable. What started out as a community service venture is now can turn into a nice little business venture for an ownership group or for an individual owner. And
that's amazing.
You asked earlier about Jamie Martin. Someone asked about Jamie Martin.
Oh yeah.
Jamie Martin now is
at Weber State.
Yeah, the legendary quarterback for Weber State. 5 years at Weber State, 16 years in the NFL, 10 years as a high school coach. And when I learned that he had just sold his business, a restaurant in St. Louis, that he launched right before COVID, and to show the
and he still made it.
And he still made it and sold it for a profit because he built that thing up, and he was looking for the next thing to do. And I says, I got just the thing for you, Jamie.
And that's how you brought him here to be.
And that's how he came back to Ogden. He loves Ogden, loves Weber State, so he came and he helped us stand up this football team. And he has made a great impact on the Ogden Jets, and he now is part of our little advisory group. Jamie, Jerry Graybill, who just retired from Weber State. We've got a little group that is working to help make the Jets sustainable. We're just in the process of hiring a new coach to replace Jamie. And so, but no, we're indebted to Jamie. And now Jamie's got a chance to to come back to Weber State and help Weber State in an important way.
That's really cool. Hey, we're going to come right back. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
Tired of media bias? Frustrated by political noise? PoliticIt.com cuts through the clutter, giving you real facts, clear analysis, and unbiased insight on the issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay empowered. Whether it's elections, policy changes, or breaking news, we've got you covered. No spin, no agendas, just truth you can trust. Visit PoliticIt.com today, because informed citizens shape the future. PoliticIt.com, where politics meets clarity.
Welcome back to PoliticIt. We've got Dave Arslanian. I really should use the name Coach, right? Because that's
okay.
who you are, right?
Yeah.
And during the break we were talking about some of these other players that played at junior college and that transformed their lives because of this experience, right?
Well, I could spend all day naming the names.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of them. You mentioned
Here's
Bronco.
one. Okay, before we go to Bronco, here's one that you wouldn't have known. He was a former president at BYU, now 12 Apostle, Jeffrey Holland.
Really?
Did you know that he played at Dixie Junior College for my father? He played football and basketball at Dixie Junior College. Okay, Bronco Mendenhall, head coach at Utah State, going to be a great asset for Utah State. He'll do a great job up there. Came out of high school in Provo, didn't get any offers, goes to Snow College, makes a name for himself, ends up at Oregon State. How about two of the top names in college football right now? Steve Sarkisian at Texas and Josh Heupel at Tennessee. Both junior college football players. Josh played at Snow College and then ended up at Oklahoma. Of course, he ended up at Snow because I recruited him to Weber State. And then when I left Weber State and went to Utah State and didn't want to take him with me because I didn't want to hurt Weber State, he then left and went to Snow College, but ended up at Oklahoma. Steve Sarkisian came out of junior college and then came to BYU. So Pete Carroll just hired at the LA Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders, former junior college football player.
Wow.
Andy Reid, Kansas City Chiefs, former junior college football player. Every profession has been touched by former junior college football players that are just some of the top in their profession.
So tell me why that experience is unique.
It's unique because these are kids that got left behind. They didn't get recruited by the four-year schools for some reason. Either they weren't educationally prepared, or they weren't quite.
Well, I think about
developed.
Garrett Bowles, who was down there at
go.
Snow College, right? I mean, classic. They should have made the movie Blindside about that kid.
He would have been a great story for that. We did a 40-year reunion for Snow College for the teams that I coached at Snow College, and Garrett was on one of the teams that when we did the reunion for our 40-year guys, and then on Friday before they play the game on Saturday, and then on Friday. We would meet with the players, do kind of a meet and greet with the players and these 40-year guys coming back to meet the current players. And I remember after I introduced some of the players, afterwards I remember this great big guy coming up to me and shaking my hand and saying, "Thank you, Coach. Love to hear those stories and meet these players." And it was Garrett.
Wow.
Awesome young man.
Great stories. And I like that idea, though, that you said these are kids that got left behind.
They got left behind.
They may not have been prepared.
That's right.
Academically, to go on to college. I know in his case that was true, right? And
they get at Snow College now. They get a scholarship to go there to play, but that scholarship doesn't pay for everything, so they end up having to make a sacrifice to play. The kids on our Ogden Jets, these teams that the USA Collegiate is launching, these players actually pay a fee to play on the team because they just want one more shot at Weber State to take a look at them, or Utah to take a look at them. They want one more shot. And in the meantime, that 18-year-old boy who's willing to give college a try just so he can play football becomes a 19-year-old boy, and then a 20-year-old young man that is now has a better vision of what his life can be. And in the meantime, he's gone through the competition of college football, which brings out the best in you. I mean, it challenges you and develops your character in ways that you can't imagine. And so these young men, I just always say they're just special. They're just special young men.
And so this is like a mission for you, isn't it? It's a calling in some ways, right? It's something that you're passionate about. You just want to make a difference, right?
I retired 20 years ago, and when I decided to take on this project of helping save junior college football, my wife says, "Why, Dave? You can just relax." And I said, "I just want to make an impact one more time. I just want to make an impact one more time." I remember sitting as a young coach in the locker room with our head coach, talking to our team at the beginning of the season. And he says, "Every one of you in here are going to have an opportunity to make an impact on this team. I don't know what that impact will be. It might be a starter, might be a backup, I don't know. But every one of you are going to have an opportunity to make an impact." 40 years later, that same coach and I did a 40-year reunion at Scottsdale Community College. And that night, Friday night, that banquet, he said the same thing to those guys. He said, "Okay, all of you, you might remember the speech I gave you the first time you were together 40 years ago. I'm going to give you the same speech. I don't care how old you are, you still have an opportunity to make an impact every day." And it's just always stuck with me. Make an impact. We all have an opportunity. Well, what is it that you're doing? Working in the
legislature, yeah.
State legislature. Why? Do you need to? Do you need to do that?
No, and sometimes my wife kind of wonders what happened to my mind to even think about doing it, right?
You just want to make an impact.
Yeah.
And you're making a huge impact.
Well, and that's kind of what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you still have something in you. And you know, it's unique because with all the success you had in your coaching career, especially at Weber State, I mean, that was, you know, and you know, you think about that now, you know, I'm sure your wife thought, why do you want to go back to, you know, to some small team, right? What are you thinking, right? But it's because you want to make an impact with these kids, right?
Because who's going to be the next Ben Nadolski? Who's going to be the next Luke Rasmussen or Brad Mortensen? Who's going to be the next one? Because they're there. That 18-year-old kid is there. He just doesn't know what his talent is going to be. He does not know. He just wants to play football one more time. And we get him and capture him, and we
So Ben actually was one of your players at Weber State. Right?
Yeah, I personally recruited him out of Phoenix Junior College. Yep. So he's going to be one of the great mayors of Ogden.
No, I was at his State of the City.
Yes.
And, you know, it actually delighted me because I mean, that was a great talk he gave, and it was impactful.
Yep.
Right? And, yeah, I think he will make a huge difference.
We just had him the other day. He did an introduction to who might end up being our next head coach for the Ogden Jets. You know, we'll have Ben do the introduction for that coach because the Ogden Jets we want it to be an integral part of this community because it's about providing this opportunity for these young men that wish they could get one more shot at Weber State, and we want them to have that opportunity. And so we've got it. We handed Jamie off to the Weber State, Jamie Martin.
Yeah.
Now
it was tough losing him, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, but it's a great opportunity for him, and a great opportunity for Weber State because he'll make an impact. He'll help Mickey Mendel and help that staff because just the knowledge that he's got and the experience that he's got. Yep.
Well, Coach, we're out of time, but it's been a pleasure talking to you, and you know, it actually brings back memories of the Weber State football and stuff. I was a student at Weber State, and yeah. Well, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.